I'm relieved and frustrated. The Vegas Golden Knights lose 3-2 in overtime against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this game sucks because the Penguins are at where they're at in the standings, second to last in the East, and technically, 8 points out of a playoff spot, which isn't terrible, but they also have played 3 more games than the people that they're chasing, so not good. Honestly, my biggest takeaway from this game is that Sidney Crosby still is one of the greatest of all time, and that wasn't ever really in question before this, but please, can we have him on our team? Sorry, Pittsburgh. I know, I agree he should retire a Penguin. But, Fleury did great with us too, so... And we made Teddy Bluger a Stanley Cup champion, and Phil Kessel was a 3-time champion. So good things happen, And we'll give him right back to you. As soon as he's not useful anymore, which honestly probably won't ever be the case. Sidney Crosby is a GOAT. He will be useful for as long as he wants to keep playing. He could play for another decade, and I guarantee he would still be useful in some capacity at that point. But that's not the point. He scored twice because Vegas, you numbskulls, you left him wide open basically twice. The first one was on the power play, so understandable a little bit that there's gonna be someone, but Sidney Crosby is the one that's wide open. And the second one, still wide open, and it was 5-on-5, which not good. It doesn't help that Vegas kept committing penalties early in each period. The second and third specifically were in the first minute. And if you're starting down a man, the rest of the period you're chasing. The first penalty on Olofsson happened 4.5 minutes into the game, and that's not the one that the Penguins scored. They didn't even score on the 3 to start the period. They scored on 1 to end the first. And it's just, Vegas, I don't think it's an East versus East teams thing. I think it's just an earlier start time thing. Because we had the earlier start time on Sunday against the Kings at home, right? Screwed the pooch on that one. I'm gonna do my homework, so I'll come next game with a little bit more, stats to back up this. But I'm pretty sure it's just the earlier start times. Vegas doesn't start on time, as evidenced by this game too. The third period, Vegas was dominant. And I'm just glossing over the fact that up to this point, Crosby has 2 goals. And Pavel Dorofeyev on our power play, which is almost automatic at this point. It's insane to me how good our power play is because, as I've said so many times throughout the season, it has primarily sucked in our franchise's history, and the fact that we have a power play that we can rely on is great. It doesn't help that the refs don't call anything except for the 1 penalty that we scored on, but also we're the least penalized team in the league. We committed 4 penalties in this game. It's just a great mix of things on top of the fact that Tristan Jarry performed so spectacularly amazingly, which, good for him, but also why against us? He had his game against Minnesota. He could have had one game where he was on, that he did some good saves and then gone right back to being great after he faced us, that an ideal world. It wasn't his first game back from, he got sent down to the AHL for a couple of months because his play before that was abysmal. But in the last 2 games, he's really picked it up to now he has an .890 save percentage. Tristan Jarry played really, really well. And when he didn't, the puck luck was awful for Vegas. There was one, especially in the third period, wraparound chance for Hurdle that went off the post and then into Jarry's pad that he almost kicked back in, but it was just wide. And then there was this play where it was a beautiful touch feed pass up to Eichel, who had a short little breakaway thing from just the offensive zone, and he gets it 5-hole on him, but Jarry somehow gets enough of it to kick it a little bit wide after it goes through his pads. And so fantastic stuff from Jarry. Also a little bit of bad puck luck because it was kind of bouncing after that, and so it could have gone in because puck bounces are weird. It's rubber on ice. Unfortunate that it could have very easily have been Vegas winning in regulation, but we're not able to do that, and it's largely because Sidney Crosby did great, Tristan Jarry did great, and Vegas's offense disappeared, which Ivan Barbashev and Brett Howden were both out. Barbashev was undisclosed. Brett Howden was due to personal reasons, which I'm assuming because he announced before this road trip that his wife was due soon, so that's probably why. So congrats to the Howdens if that's good. Hopefully everything's good with mom and baby. No idea about Barbashev, so we'll see. And losing 2 forwards a couple of hours before game time, that's gonna screw things up, right? We get to overtime because it's 2-1 and Vegas is pouring on shots in the third. I was having a date with my wife, and so I paused the game to be able to just focus on, because family is important. And I got alerted to the final score on my phone. And so I saw it was 3-2 and I was like, oh, okay, well, Pittsburgh probably gets, I didn't know that it was going to overtime. But then I was trying to check on Jari's stats to make sure that, you know, we weren't just facing him right out of his age. I'll call up and he's demolishing us, because that would be demoralizing. And I leaked to myself that it was an overtime game. And so this entire time I'm thinking, oh, so Vegas ties it. Huh. And for the last like 6 minutes that I'm watching that game, I'm like, how? And increasingly so, that question just keeps getting asked, and we're down to Sammy being pulled like at 1 minute and 20 seconds left. And I'm like, Vegas has had some sustained pressure where they've kept the puck in and kept possession and tried to get shots towards the net, but Pittsburgh was doing a really good job of clogging lanes to make sure that the puck couldn't get to Jari. And I'm like, okay, when does it happen? And then it gets down to like 40 seconds, and then 30 seconds, and then 20, where there's an offsides. And I'm like, what? And then we call a timeout, and we drop this play where we have the 5-man face-off crew against the 5-man for Pittsburgh, and then Eichel way across the boards. And it's a design play where Vegas, all you have to do is get possession of the puck, send it over to the off ice where Jack Eichel just streams in. And that's what happens. This play worked. That was great. And Eichel grabs the puck, flings it on, but Jari makes the save. We managed to get possession of that puck out of that scrum after Jari makes that save. And so that's really, really good work from Vegas. And we have Stone and Hanifin play catch back and forth. Hanifin winds up for a one-timer, pass from Stone, and drills this thing unbelievably hard into the back of the net to tie it with 6 seconds left. Fantastic drawn up play that Vegas was able to, with the man advantage, because we pulled Samsonov, just do spectacular things with, because our power play and 6-on-5, we scored 2 6-on-5 goals in the last 2 games, which is bad because we're losing, but good because it shows that we're not out of it, you know? We tie the game, we force it to overtime, and we get a point that is very needed at this point because we want to win the Pacific Division, so we don't have to face LA in the first round. That was very long-winded, and yeah. So after this, Pittsburgh gets possession of the puck in overtime, and they just keep it the rest of the time until they eventually score off of a drop play to Karlsson, Erik Karlsson, who gets on the ice and drills this, like, just wires it on. But also, like, Samsonov, what are you doing? You didn't move at all to make that save. I genuinely do not know what Samsonov was doing there. Erik Karlsson risks it on from like the far end of the face-off dot in the offensive zone, and it goes in. That's like he wasn't he wasn't screened or anything. I genuinely don't know how on earth that went in, but is what it is. And Pittsburgh gets the overtime win, so the 2 points. Which sucks because, again, we really want to win the Pacific Division. We are currently 5 points above Edmonton and 8 points above LA. LA has 2 games in hand. So if they win both of those games, then we're only up on them by 4 points, right? So very reasonable thing for them to be able to come back in for 18 games. They do have to win those 2 games, but we got a point, and that was good in a game that we were crawling back in the entire time because Jari was good, Crosby was good, and we just didn't have great puck luck. But honestly, our next game is against Columbus on Thursday. Columbus has done surprisingly well this season, and I want them to continue to do well and push towards the playoffs, but Vegas needs these 2 points, and my loyalties lie with that team. Obviously. So let's go into Columbus on Thursday, get the win, and continue to just build momentum from this road trip and close it out with a good record. But that's going to be it for Game 64's Nightly Review. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.